my channel. I'm not very good at this. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is my first video. So fun. So basically, I am a huge Buffy fan. I'm a fan of many things. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, you name it. But especially Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I am a huge fan of Buffy. And about a year ago, I started a Buffy fan account on Instagram, as one does. I posted a ton of fun stuff there, memes, TikToks, stuff that I made, and I had plans to make a Buffy YouTube channel. And then I kind of disappeared from the internet for a while. I guess I kind of felt like who would watch a Buffy YouTube channel because it's not that popular anymore. But I realized, you know what, who cares? I want to make it, so I'm gonna do it. So I'm back. I'm here. Yeah, I have tons of ideas for Buffy videos, and I thought what better way to start off than to rank every season of Buffy. And by every season, I do mean every season, including seasons 8 through 12 of the comics. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like the comics, and my original plan was to rank every season of Buffy and Angel from, TV, but I realized that I haven't seen Angel in a while, and I've only seen it once all the way through, and I keep meaning to rewatch it, I just haven't. So I thought I would go ahead and rank all 12 seasons of Buffy, TV and comics, and then come back later and rank every season of Angel once I've rewatched the show and read the comics, because I haven't read the comics at all yet. So yeah, today we're just going to do Buffy. Also, before we get started, please do not have a full-on screaming match in the comments. These are just my opinions, and even then, I mean, my opinions about the show and any other show or movie franchise or whatever are constantly changing. This is just my opinions right now. It could change tomorrow, next week, in a year, who knows. So I'm all up for friendly and civil debates in the comments, but please do not attack me or anyone else for their opinions on the show. They're just opinions. It's not that big of a deal. So yeah, please be nice. But that's enough of that. That was a really long intro. So let's just get into the video. So coming in last place is season 12 of the comics, the final season of anything Buffy. This season is way too short. I think it was only 4 issues or something. It's been a while since I've read the comics, but I do remember quite a bit. And I believe this was right before Boom Comics purchased the rights to Buffy from Dark Horse Comics, and they hadn't wrapped up Buffy yet, so they were trying to just slap something together for the last season just to tie all the loose ends and stuff, and it's only 4 issues long, which is not enough to tell any story that's a season of a show. And even with that, they could have just told a cute little character story or something, and I think that would have been better. But instead, they went for a huge scale epic story with every single character, including the ones from Angel, because it's basically Buffy and Angel's final season. It's just, there's way too much going on, and the plot itself is not great. Basically, they took Frey and her brother, whose name I can't even remember, from the first season of the comics. Frey is a slayer from the future, and then her brother was evil or something. I don't even remember the exact plot, but the gist of it is that they came back to present day and caused a bunch of chaos. I think the idea was cool to take a one-off sort of villain from earlier on and make them a huge scale big bad. It reminds me a lot of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, where they took Khan, who was again a one-off villain from an episode way before, and made him this huge villain with tons of consequences after everything that he did. But the execution here was just not the best, and they just didn't have enough time to do what they wanted to do. And I also feel like they didn't give us the most satisfying ending, especially in regards to Buffy's relationship status at the end of the show. Basically, if you've read the comics, obviously Buffy and Spike have been dating since season 10-ish, and Joss Whedon came in season 12 and decided he didn't like that, and decided to break them up and didn't really give an explanation. There was no valid reason for them to break up. They were happy in their relationship, and I think Joss just broke them up because he likes Angel more, honestly. And so Buffy didn't end up with anyone in the end, which is fine, but I think it's kind of a tired trope, and especially when there's no reason for her and Spike to break up, it's kind of upsetting. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of season 12. Coming up next is season 9. So I don't hate season 9, and I honestly don't remember that much from it, but I honestly feel like it is kind of boring. It's definitely more grounded than season 8 was, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, and it picked up well from where season 8 left off, and I think the plot is interesting, but there weren't enough, like, character moments in this season, and overall, it's just, like, there's nothing super offensively bad about it. I just don't like it as much as the other seasons. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about season 9. I wish I had more to say, but I just don't. Coming up in spot number 10 is Buffy season 8. The first season of the comics was definitely a bit of a rough start. Also, I'm not a comics hater. I promise not all the comics are going to be at the bottom, but there's no denying that they're not as high quality as the show. So yeah, season 8 was a little hard to rank for me because I think the first, like, 5 volumes, so a little bit more than the first half of season 8, was actually pretty entertaining. I like what they did. It was more Monster of the Weeky, you know, and it was definitely a bit chaotic at times. Dawn turned into a giant at one point, which was weird, and Harmony had her own talk show, which was cool, and I kind of liked that part of the plot, but also kind of weird. It was definitely wacky, but I think it fit the comic book format, and while it's definitely different from, like, what you would think of when you think of Buffy, I did like it. However, starting in, like, volume 6-ish, things really went off the rails. It got bonkers. Angel was, like, possessed, I think, by some entity named Twilight that was birthed by, like, him and Buffy being together. I don't even fully remember or understand the plot, but it was bonkers. And Angel killed Giles when he was possessed, which is just whack. Who saw that coming? And then there was, like, this seed of magic, which was kind of retconned. Basically, it's the reason for all of the magic in the world, and Willow had to destroy it. And that caused a lot of consequences in the later seasons of the comics, and I think that part of the plot was interesting, but the whole Twilight storyline just didn't really gel with me. I was not a fan. Yeah, just didn't like it. However, Oz does make an appearance in, like, I think volume 6 of season 8, and I love Oz, and I was super glad to see him after him not being in the show since, like, season 4. So I did enjoy a lot of season 8, but the ending and the main villain was just insane, frankly. So coming up next is not a season of the comics, it is season 7, the final season of the TV show. I have a lot of issues with season 7, but I think it all stems from the fact that I feel like season 7 lost a lot of the heart of the show. For a lot of different reasons, I think their biggest mistake is, 1, introducing so many new characters in the form of these potential slayers, and 2, not having a good distribution of Monster of the Week episodes. So basically they kind of sidelined a lot of the main characters, didn't really develop them that much for the sake of introducing these new potential slayers. And the potential slayers, as most Buffy fans would agree, are all pretty annoying. There's a few exceptions, like Amanda is okay, I think Vi is her name, she's okay, but the rest of them kind of suck, especially Kennedy and Rona. Not a fan of the potentials, and the fact that they took up so much screen time instead of giving screen time to, like, Anya, Xander, anyone else really, is just insane. Also, characters like Andrew and Principal Wood, even though I do like them, they also took screen time from our main characters, so I kind of resent them for that. And I feel like a lot of this could have been fixed if they had just done a better job of, like, putting more Monster of the Week episodes in the middle of the season. Because what they did with season 7 is they started off with, like, 6 or 7 Monster of the Week episodes, which is, like, you know, the one-off episodes where there's a new demon or something that Buffy and the Scoobies have to fight, and you never hear about that storyline again. And they were really high-quality Monster of the Week episodes for the most part, and I really enjoy those episodes. And then the rest of the season is, like, very few Monster of the Week episodes, mainly just like super plot heavy, exposition heavy episodes, and I think they messed up. I get what they were going for. I think they wanted the back half of the season, or really the back 3/4 of the season, to really focus on the main plot and tell like this epic story, but I don't think they achieved that goal. I think instead they kind of messed up, because the way that the Monster of the Week episodes worked in previous seasons, they kind of broke up the main plot and gave us a break from all of the doom and gloom of the main plot of the season, as well as giving screen time to characters that may not always get it and allowing for more character development. You know, episodes like Family in season 5 that gave screen time to Tara, or episodes that give screen time to like Anya and develop certain characters and relationships. I think that is like where a lot of the heart of the show comes from, is those Monster of the Week episodes that are really like little character studies, and the lack of those types of episodes in most of season 7 is what kind of ruins it for me. And I think they could have solved a lot of the issues in season 7 if they had just had more Monster of the Week episodes and less characters introduced. So next up is season 6, and my opinion on this season is constantly changing. It used to be closer to the top of my list, but it's moved towards the bottom, which I hate because I feel like a lot of people hate on season 6 and 7 specifically. But I don't know, I feel like I don't dislike season 6. It's just not as good as the rest of the show. At least that's my opinion right now. But again, my opinion on the season is constantly changing. I think there's a lot of good things about it. I like the beginning of the season, you know, dealing with Buffy coming back from the dead and like her friends resurrecting her and all of the complications that come along with that. Of course, I love Once More with Feeling. That's my favorite episode in the show, just like a lot of people. And I think a lot of the stories told in the season are good, even though it can be kind of depressing. I think it was really good at like studying the characters and just showing how hard life can be sometimes. It was really realistic in that matter. But the main plot of the season is kind of weak. You know, for most of the season we have the trio as sort of the big bads of the season, and they're not very bad or big. They're mostly just annoying, especially Warren. I hate Warren so much, especially because he killed Tara. Yeah, I just don't feel like they were that entertaining. They definitely had some entertaining episodes, like Gone when Buffy is invisible. I actually really like that episode. But for the most part, they were pretty weak villains. Although you could argue that they were mostly just setting up the real big bad of the season, which is Dark Willow. And my feelings on Dark Willow are kind of mixed. I think it's definitely a very interesting plot, and I think it was like, it didn't come out of nowhere. That's kind of where Willow's character was going. She had been going down a dark path for a while, so it definitely makes sense. But I think some of her lines are a bit cringy, to be honest.
You call me a rank, arrogant amateur. Well, buckle up, Rupert. 'Cause I've turned pro.
And the execution could have been better. I don't fault Allison Hannigan. I think she did her best, but she's just not like that convincing as an evil person, because she's just really sweet and it's hard to see her as evil, but I think she did a pretty good job. And I do love the Yellow Crown speech that Xander gives. Gets me every time. Yeah, I do like season 6, just not as much as the rest of the show. Following season 6, coming in at spot number 7, is season 11. My opinions on season 11 are very similar to my opinions on season 6, which is that I don't think there's anything overly bad or offensive about season 11. It's just not as good as the seasons that are higher on this list. And I like a lot about season 11 after the events in the previous 3 seasons, which all kind of connected. The whole world kind of knows about slayers and vampires and demons, all of that now. And so it's kind of like, what would happen if the government and the rest of the world really found out about these things? Especially the American government, they have a very violent, hostile reaction towards everything supernatural. And I think that's a pretty realistic reaction. I think America would definitely have that sort of reaction. I think the story is very interesting in that regards, and I do like Buffy in the season. I don't really have a favorite, as I said earlier, between like Angel and Spike in terms of like them dating Buffy, or really in regards to them as characters in general. I like them both equally, but I think Buffy and Spike in this season and the previous season are just really good. Their relationship is really healthy compared to how they are in the show, and I like it. So yeah, season 11, don't have a super strong opinion on it either way, which is why it kind of falls right in the middle. Spot number 6, we're halfway through the list, and we have season 1. I actually really like season 1. It's kind of my comfort season. I think it's like really easy to swallow material. If you're just like having a bad day and you want to watch some Buffy, put on an early season 1 episode. I think it's actually better than a lot of people remember, even though it's not the best of the best. It's definitely smaller in like scale and scope. It is a fun season. I think it does a great job of setting up the show, and it can be cheesy and it can be at times, but in most ways it's kind of a perfect first season. You know, the Master is a perfect first villain, just pretty much what you would imagine for a vampire show, just like a super evil vampire leader type guy. And I think it does a great job of setting up all the characters, revealing that Angel is a vampire, but he has a soul, and Buffy actually dies at the end of the season, and everything like that. I think it does a great job and really sets up the show to be something different in terms of like vampire media. Obviously, vampire stories like this for teens and young adults has been done time and time again, even after Buffy, especially with things like Vampire Diaries and Twilight. But I think Buffy does it the best because it sort of puts a spin on classic vampire teen drama tropes. You know, Buffy does fall in love with a vampire, but it's a little more interesting than the typical vampire falling in love with a teenage girl story, because not only is Buffy a human, she's also a slayer. She's supposed to kill Angel, yet they fall in love, which I'll talk about a little bit more when we get to season 2. But yeah, I think it does a great job of turning the classic vampire teen drama tropes on their heads, and overall it's a great first season for the show. Alright, we're breaking the top 5 now. Coming in at number 5 is season 4. Season 4 is a weird season because I feel like it definitely has its rough moments. Like, Riley isn't great. Although he had some big footsteps to follow in with Angel as Buffy's previous love interest. Riley, he wasn't the best. And Adam and the Initiative as villains are kind of weak. The concept is interesting, but I don't think they quite pulled it off. However, I think a lot of season 4 does a great job of, you know, putting a fresh spin on Buffy and having a new start after leaving the high school setting. It's definitely not perfect. I feel like they could have done the whole college thing better, and they kind of realized that themselves because they kind of abandoned the whole college plot altogether like midway through season 5. But I think season 4 is pretty good. It's definitely one of the funniest seasons of Buffy. I love the introduction of new characters to the cast, such as Tara. Spike obviously becomes a main character, so does Anya. So, you know, in terms of like that type of stuff, I think season 4 really shines. And also, they tell a lot of interesting stories with things like Hush, Restless, New Year's Girl, all very unique episode concepts, and I think they pulled off season 4, even though it was probably really nerve-wracking to leave the classic setting of the show, you know, Sunnydale High, they're teenagers. They couldn't do that anymore in season 4, but I think they did a good job of sort of introducing something new to the show. So, I'm a fan of season 4. Even though the main plot and Big Bad aren't my favorite, I think it makes up for that stuff with the Monster of the Week episodes and the character development. So, yeah. Number 4 might shock some people. We have season 10 of the comics. So, for anyone who hasn't read the comics, you're probably quite confused as to why season 10 is this high on my list. A lot of people don't like the comics, which I understand, but I think season 10 is really great. Basically, as I mentioned earlier, in season 8, the Seed of Magic, which was kind of a retcon, but whatever, was destroyed, and that kind of set off a chain of events in seasons 9 and 10. Season 9, they had to create a new Seed of Magic, I believe, and basically in season 10, they have to rewrite the rules of magic. A council of demons and supernatural beings and the like come together, and they try to rewrite the rules of magic and the supernatural, and it's really interesting to see how everyone's trying to like make deals, and everyone wants the magic book. I don't even remember what it's called, the magic book thingy, and there's all sorts of crazy things, like vampires that are sired after season 10, I think, can now walk in the daylight, and they have a lot of the same powers as like Dracula, which is pretty cool. I can't remember all of the new rules of magic, but it's definitely a really cool concept. There's a ton of great character moments in season 10. Andrew is introduced as like a main character now, which I think is fun. Yeah, Andrew is great in the later seasons of the comics. Buffy and Spike finally get together, like for real, which is fun for those of you who like Buffy and Spike, or just Spike. Xander has some great character development in this season, and he actually bonds with Spike, which I think is cute. They had sort of like a frenemies thing going on starting in season 4, and they definitely hated each other, but they were kind of forced to be together when Spike lived with Xander in season 4, and in season 10, they actually kind of become like reluctant friends, which I think is fun. Xander definitely needed a friend. He was going through some stuff. The only thing that I will say about season 10 that's kind of weird is Dawn and Xander get together. I can't remember if they get together in season 9 or season 10, but they are together in season 10, which is a little weird. Not a fan, but other than that, I think season 10 is great. D'Hoffryn is a fun villain, and also Giles is back to life. He's actually like 10 years old or something like that, which is confusing because I believe that Angel brought him back to life in the Angel comics because he was responsible for his death and he felt guilty. And so yeah, Giles is back to life, but he is a child, which is kind of weird, but it definitely makes for some interesting plot points. And overall, I think season 10 is just really great, by far the best season of the comics, and I think they did a good job of adapting the show here. So yeah, I like season 10, despite what everyone says about the comics. Number 3, we have season 3. Here's the thing, I think this is probably objectively the best season of the show. It's definitely the most consistent. Like, there are very few episodes in this season that I would consider not good. Maybe like one episode that I would consider bad, but the rest of them, all good. The plot in this season is definitely great. Faith is a very great character. The mayor is a fantastic villain. This is my favorite iteration of the Scooby Gang. You know, we have Cordy and Oz, along with the classic, you know, Buffy, Willow, Xander, Giles, Angel. And overall, I think season 3 is just, yeah, it's a good season. I don't really have much else to say about it. I just think it's really good. And again, objectively, I think this is probably the best season of Buffy, but it's not my favorite. I like the next few seasons more, but still love season 3, and I think it was a great final season of the high school years. Coming in at number 2 is season 5. So, I think season 5 definitely had some weak aspects. Like the Monster of the Week episodes were not the best, and Riley got 100 times worse in this season before he finally left the show. Sorry, I like Mark Blucas, but Riley is just not it, frankly. But other than that, season 5 is pretty darn amazing. The fact that they retconned Buffy a sister and did it successfully and made that into like a phenomenal plot is just, it's beautiful. I love season 5. Glory is a fantastic villain. The finale of season 5 is amazing. I'm glad they didn't end the show with Buffy's death, but I think as like quality goes, it's a better episode than Chosen, and by far better than the ending we got in season 12. And I think all of the characters, or most of the characters, are at their best in this season, especially Spike and Buffy, especially Spike. I just love Spike in this season. There are tons of great episodes in this season. Obviously The Gift the body, even though it's really sad. Spiral, I like. Yeah, I can't think of other ones right now, but it's a really good season. And again, I wish there were more Monster of the Week episodes, or at least more high quality Monster of the Week episodes, but overall, I think the main plot in this season is enough to make up for the lack of those types of episodes. And even without those episodes, they successfully developed the characters in a way that felt organic. And it just made sense. Like, I have no issues with season 5, really, other than the fact that it's just not as good as the next season on this list, which is obviously the only season I have not mentioned yet. Season 2. I really love season 2 so much. It is by far my favorite season, and I don't think that's ever going to change. Although season 5 is pretty epic, season 2 is just amazing. And it's definitely not perfect. Like, it still has some pretty rough season 1 reminiscent Monster of the Week episodes, like early in the season and kind of towards the end of the season. But for the most part, season 2 is amazing. Angelus is my favorite villain. I think they executed that great. Again, I mentioned earlier that I loved what they did with Buffy and Angel's relationship, because it's a little different than the classic teenage girl falls in love with a vampire, because Buffy is a slayer and is supposed to kill Angel. And not only that, but Angel actually turns evil this season, and Buffy does have to kill him. And I think they did an amazing job in season 2. Most of my favorite episodes of the show are in this season. There are some great two-parters in this season. You know, What's My Line, Surprise Innocence, Becoming, all amazing episodes. And they introduce a lot of my favorite characters in the season. Obviously, Spike and Drusilla and Oz and Jonathan. They all came to the show in this season. So yeah, overall, I just think season 2 of Buffy is just immaculate. I love it. I think the plot is great. I think the finale is amazing. I love everything about it. I have nothing bad to say other than the fact that, again, some of the Monster of the Week episodes are kind of cheesy, but for the most part, this season is flawless. And it will always be my favorite. So with that said, that is my ranking of all 12 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry if it was a little bit rambly. I haven't made a YouTube video like this before, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I tried, and I hope it was somewhat enjoyable and watchable. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more like this, consider subscribing to this channel and follow my Instagram, which I will link in the description below. I have tons of fun ideas for Buffy content, and I would love to share it with you guys. So yeah, stick around for more Buffy content, and I will see you guys later. Bye bye.